Welcome to I Am Africa. My name is Jean Mongela. Today is the 30th of March, 2020. And Kenya, Africa, as a world, we find ourselves in a place that many of us never thought that we'd ever find ourselves in. And it sparked a lot of things within us as individuals, as friends, as families, as nations, as the world. So many things have come up, and I know one of the greatest things has been fear, anxiety of the unknown, and shock, denial in some people, anger at others, peace for some. It's just an interesting time that we find ourselves. I want to thank God for this day. It is the day that the Lord has made. I choose to rejoice in it because I trust the one who allowed it to be. And He has ordered my steps. He has ordered our steps. He has ordered the world's steps. And He is God, and there is nothing that happens that shocks Him. He permits things. Even that which may cause pain, He permits it, and He has a reason. So I said, this is I Am Africa, and today, the 30th of March 2020, I introduced another series called Truth Diaries. The whole journey on YouTube started with health and wellness in Him, the story of our daughter, Zoe Nzilani Mongela, whose birthday it is today, the 30th of March. She was born in 2012, and she lived for 63 days and passed on the 1st of June 2012. And I sit here and I thank God for her life. I genuinely give thanks for her life because it's through her life that I found God. It's through her death that I found God's life, which is interesting because Zoe means God's life. And if you go through the whole I Am Africa platform, and I said this is a new series called Truth Diaries. So I started in health and wellness in Him. And then He, in the 9th episode, He transitioned me into I Am Africa, which is actually the mother of all these other babies coming under it. So there was health and wellness in Him, which now falls under I Am Africa. There's Stories of Life, Africa, Stories of Life, which is the story of women, just telling stories about what it is to be a woman. Why did God create the woman? What role do we have here? Why do the things that challenge us, so that we can reset back to God's settings and live out our purpose here. And today He decides to birth, Truth Diaries, and I thank Him. And more so that He's doing it on Zoe's birthday. It's 8 years since she passed, and He brings something new. And I know that even in the time we find ourselves, He's making all things new. There's something He's doing. There's a beauty that's going to come out of this that's going to shock many people. People who never thought would be seen or had been looked down on, or nations or peoples that had never been seen are rising up. And people are being humbled. And it's interesting because when I started I Am Africa, when God asked me to start this on my birthday, I recorded on my birthday in 2017. I had no clue what days I was doing. But when I looked back at it a few days ago, I was like, wow, Father. And if you've watched it, and you can go back and look, I talked about there's a shaking that God is doing in order to remove the fake kings so that His kings can take their position, so that He may be magnified as the King of Kings. And I dare say that that time has come. He's shaking, and He has shaken the whole earth that He may be magnified. that things may come to the surface that are not of him, that people may get a chance to actually check themselves and really check what it is that we stand for. Do we love? What does it mean to be called church? What is church anyway? I mean, I've seen it being written all over the place that church is not a building, like, now we, like, yeah, from the very beginning, that's what God has wanted to point us back to. And I remember there was a recording I did somewhere. I think there was one on sound, and I shared the way I'd taken time out of church. And I remember a few people were not too pleased when I shared that. Mine was out of obedience, and I now see why God pulled me out of the system, so to speak, for some time. Sometimes he'd allow me to go back in, allow us to go back in, come out, just to watch. And we never really, I remember someone once asked me, so what's your home church? And I just stared at them because I didn't have a home church. We don't have a home church. I mean, home sometimes is where we sit and gather and fellowship. So God just taking people back to understand that it's the people he's after. It's the hearts of the people that he's after. Because even church wasn't a word in the beginning. In Hebrew, the word was, and I learned this even as I started this journey, that church came just to divide us, the word church, because now we started dividing into PCA, Anglican, Catholic, SDA, just all these denominations that has caused division instead of unity. Yet God is looking for oneness. So it just clearly was not of him. It's a system that came into place that has caused more division than oneness. And it's interesting to see how he has stilled us and even stopped that for now, for us to truly check ourselves, so that when we truly gather, we gather in his name, and we're not just following a system, we're allowing his spirit to move in and through us so that there can be liberty. Because in his word, we say that where the spirit of God is, there is liberty. But do we really give him the liberty to be God, to do what he needs to do? And during this time, the verse that has kept coming to me is Psalm 46:10. Be still, hey, and know that I am God. I will be exalted among the nations. I will be exalted in the earth. Like Yani, he's actually come to the I will be exalted among the nations. I will be exalted in the earth. And he's had to still us in order to know him. In one of the recordings I did under health and wellness in him, I remember talking about relationship. That's how you get to know God. And I said, I shared about when you're dating someone or you went to know someone, whether it's a girlfriend, a guy, your own children, you spend time with them, yeah? You talk and you listen. Why don't we do that with our Father? Yet all he wants is relationship. He's been yearning for relationship. And out of his mercy, he's gotten us to the point where he has stilled us, so that we may know him. He's given us a chance. Isn't that love? Isn't that mercy? Instead of coming and wiping us, clean and starting all over again, he gives us the chance to be still in order to know him, so that we exalt him. We exalt him because he is God. So regardless of what's going on, I still take a moment to tell God, thank you for your mercy. And thank you for loving us. And may he perfect his love in us so that the fear can go. Because if there's any fear, then you need to check the areas where fear has come. Because that means in that particular area, the love of God has not been perfected. But he can. There's no one who's too far gone to be found by him. He's there. Akotu, he's just right there. And he's giving us a chance right now to be still and know him. So know him. Now, truth diaries. Why truth? Why diaries? Truth because it will be founded only on what he says when he needs it to be said, and is based on his word by his spirit. Diary, ideally, I feel as he shares things with me when he allows. A diary is where you write like those intimate secret things that from yourself. You know what a diary is. At the same time, a diary can also be the thing where we get at the beginning of the year with dates and everything, giving us a calendar of events that's going to happen. And I believe we're at a time where God wants to start revealing his game plan, his strategies, and what he needs us to do as individuals, as families, as nations, as governments, for the earth to be stilled in order to go back. I've seen people writing being restored to factory settings. Yeah, restoring us to his settings, what he had in mind before time. Yeah, so truth diaries. And on today's thing on today's episode, he wants me to share again, and I was like, God, he takes me back to 8 years ago when Zoe was born. And I was like, Father, we're sharing that story again. I mean, that story has been shared. And he said, yeah, Zoe Nzilani Mongela, Zoe, God's life Nzilani on the way that came to add. The adding continues. Who am I to be silent when he says speak? So out of obedience, here we go. So the thing that he wants me to highlight, particularly this time, Easter is coming. And with it, people are in serious shock because most of us, we're going to be indoors or, whatever every nation is. But generally, it's not what we have known. There's an old pattern he's doing away with to introduce a totally new way of doing things. He's making all things new. And we know the whole story about what's the point of pouring new wine into old wineskin? It will burst. So he's literally giving us time to be made new, to hold the new thing that's coming and has started. And he took me back to, so Easter is coming this time, but he took me back to when we were in the neonatal ICU with Zoe 8 years ago, and we were there during Easter, and we lived it, man, because it was that Easter, that Good Friday season is when we had been told to wait for her to die. She wasn't doing well. And it was scary. But she came out of it. We got a call towards Easter Sunday that wake up, she's waking, come, she's opening her eyes, and wow, God gave us another as he prepared us for when she was going to go, which was also mercy. But I remember on Good Friday when we were leaving, there were some guys who were outside who were planning to go out. They were planning at where are we going to party. And I remember getting upset. I was just like, wait, so the world is actually going on when us guys are in ICU with us fighting for our daughter's life. You want to tell me life is going on, guys are actually having fun and partying and drinking and doing all that they desire to do, and I feel I can't do anything else other than literally hold my breath for this child to come out. And yeah, that's what God chose for us, chose for our family that time. And it was very humbling, and I cried, and man, but I look, it's now 8 years on, and here we are, and the world, dunia yote, the whole world has been stilled in the very same place we found ourselves as a family over that Easter. And I'm not saying we're the only ones. I'm sure many people have gone through this as well. But now the world has been stilled. And when we were stilled with Zoe, it was a season of knowing God. We knew him, we found him. We really checked our relationship with God, and it's been a process ongoing even to date. And now getting us to the place where we actually give thanks. I give thanks for Zoe. I thank God for bringing her and taking her, because it was only through that I got to meet God and really get past my selfish nature. And it's been an ongoing process of dying to self, and it has cost a lot of things, relationships, jobs, opportunities, just for God to have me to himself for preparation. And not many are willing to go through that. And it's interesting, so even in this time when we came to a place of being told isolation, separation, quarantine, whatever we're all calling it, I've been there. Only going, doing and, as he leads, being perfected in that. So it wasn't such a shocker. and then now getting us to the point where now all the nations are being stilled over Easter, and he takes me back to 8 years ago, and it's as though he's doing it now on a wider scale, on a global scale, that he has stilled us that we may know him. And as I checked, because I wasn't sure about the dates, yeah, it's April 10th, yeah, April 10th is when we have Easter. But at the same time, there you search and then you get a list of other stuff. So it's not what you're looking for, but God in his beauty makes sure, and wisdom makes sure that you come across it. And I realized that around the same time is when on the Hebrew calendar, they'll be celebrating the Passover, which starts on the 8th of April to the 16th of April. And I was like, okay, God, why did you let me see that? And it took me back, even to the time of the Israelites being told, Moses leading his people out of God's people out of Egypt, and the plagues were happening. Plagues, we've had all this talk about, plagues going on. I won't comment on that right now. But as the ninth plague was about to happen, the death of the firstborn, basically God was making a demarcation. He was lining out, separating those who are his and those who are not his. And the thing that saved his own was the blood of a lamb. The Israelites were told, mark your doorposts with the blood of sacrifice a lamb and put the blood on your post, and then the angel of death will pass over. And I was like, okay. The difference now being, in the time where Christ already came, died, and he's the lamb that was slain, like the actual lamb that was slain. So his blood has already made an atonement for us. So we're not dealing with sin. Sin was done with. What we're dealing with every day is the flesh, this thing that makes us do some things sometimes. So the dying daily to the self, and that the flesh needs to die so that he can find a resting place in us. And I paused and I was like, wait a minute. So you have this at the same time, concurrently with Easter. And I asked and I said, could it be that God has stilled us at this time to check ourselves? There's so much that has come up at this time. What is it that moves you? What is it that you've held dear, which is actually vanity? The other day I was even telling Mark, my husband was telling me, why I can't shave? And I told him, hey, even me, I can't shave, salons are closed and everything. And ideally, by now, I would have probably done it. And I was like, okay, you know what, God, at this point, it's really not much choice. We don't have the machine in the house. And I was like, okay, Father, this is how you want us. So be it. And he's basically taken away what maybe some people would call luxuries, which are really not necessary. But many times we don't take the time to pause and check, am I supposed to do this, or am I doing it because it's become a pattern? So that we're actually doing stuff without thinking, without going back to God. As his children, everything we think, everything we say, everything we do should be in line with him. But the system of the world has been on such on such a move that we hardly ever take time to pause and think, is this what God wants me to do? Is this the school the children need to go to? Are my children supposed to be homeschooled? We've been tested. Where? But it's also becoming beautiful for some interesting reason. And is single folk, let me talk, because I guess because of being married, it's going to be like, couples coming together and going like, do I really know the person I married? Do we even spend time together anymore? What is oneness in marriage in accordance to God's will? For the single people, God has allowed you to be single. And if you watched the other series that we're doing, Stories of Life, with my friend, my beautiful sister Gadoni, who is single. And it's interesting that God would put a single and a married woman together to touch a very wide scope of the woman. How does a single woman think? How does a married woman think? But realizing we're all the same, and that God desires the same from all of us, just to glorify him. Why does he have you single? Why does he have you in that very quiet space? What are the things he needs you to do? What is he preparing you for? Yeah? And just like the lamb that was slain, it was a sacrifice. God is looking for living sacrifices right now. Living sacrifices. And is it in Romans 12, yeah? That talks about be ye transformed by the renewal of your mind, that we may become living sacrifices. There's a checking of ourselves right now. Your mind, how you think. Why do you think the way you think? If this season has sparked things of anger, jealousy, expectations, things inside you that you didn't think were there, don't sit on them and you're already locked in anyway. Take time and figure out, where is this thing coming from? God, is this of you? Where you're lying it? Is it of you? You know? I mean, do you want to come out of this thing the same? I do not want. I mean, guys saying that, oh, they miss normalcy. I don't want normalcy. My prayer is that we cry for the new normal. What is this new thing that God is doing? Because he is doing it. Tu pende tu si pende. He's doing it. And he has stilled us for a reason. This is not a movie. It's not a rehearsal. Okay, maybe a lot of things being tried out for things to come. To check, what exactly have you stood on? Is it Christ the solid rock that you stand on? Or is it trivial things? Hair, makeup. And I'm not saying they're bad if that's what God needs you to do. Food, relationships that are not supposed to be, relationships that need to be mended, judging of each other, expectations of each other which are neither here or there. We have been stilled in order to be prepared for the new. So I thank God for Zoe. And as I say this, I'm not talking about my daughter, his baby. I'm talking about what it means. Zoe means God's life. I thank God for God's life. And my prayer is that by the dying of the things in us right now, and sadly even by the dying of some people, so many people right now, and God is not surprised. He knew this day would come. And more is about to happen. And it's still out of love, because at the end of it all, God is looking for his bride. He's looking for his called out ones. He's looking for his kings to take up their places on thrones, that he may be magnified as the King of Kings. So as Easter comes and as the Passover happens, my prayer is that we all truly die to self. We understand what love is, and love, we cannot love if God does not fill us with his love. I love you, God. You can't even love God unless he has filled you with his love. Take the time to know him, to have a relationship with him. He talks. He's beautiful. He's a personal God, and he's a jealous God when he wants you, when he wants his people. Yeah. And in it all, he is good. So rejoice and be grateful. Times of tears are also there. Times of compassion and reaching out and being our brother's keepers. Stepping out beyond ourselves. So the self dies. The selfless, from selfishness to selflessness. For his love to be seen. That he may then have places and people to rest in, that he may be glorified. There are answers. There are places that need answers. I pray that even at this time when he has stilled us, my question has been beyond what we are seeing. Father, what is it that you need us to? What gaps are you showing us that we need to fill in? He's looking for those who are his own to give answers to certain places. Those are the kings. His kings and priests, to take their position. So start asking, start watching, and ask God to open your eyes. Where are the gaps? Which industries, which gates, which places does he need his people? Does he need you to take your place in? So allow him. No more complaining. Stop bickering, or if it's not of God, just be silent. Be silent. Speak as he allows you to speak and gives you utterance. Pause and be still in his presence as you're alone, or if you're with family, if you're already in a house with your family. Wherever you are, be still and check yourself. Is everything that he needs to be cleaning out? Are you allowing him to? Let him clean shop and do it quickly. So that when you come out of this thing, you are a new creation and can take the places that he needs you to be in to give the answers from his throne. Because he speaks, man, and it's time for him to be exalted. Bottom line, God is love. and his life came through death of his son. So die to self. Let's die to everything by his help. Remember, it's not by power in Zechariah, not by power, not by might, but by your spirit, O God. I'm trying to remember to be back straight. Back straight. What was I saying, Papa? I forgot. Yes, yeah. And not by power. It's not about what you do, not by might. It's by his spirit. So it means being in that quiet place to allow his spirit to move. Yeah, so yeah. That's episode 1 of Truth Diaries. Arise and shine. Your light has come. Our light has come. And the glory of our Father has risen upon us. Rise up. Take time. Take time. Be still and know that He is God. Yeah, my name is Jean Mongela. Until the next episode on Truth Diaries. Bye-bye. God bless you.